Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Veteran Claims Made Easy. In this video, we're going to give you a quick guide on how to file your claim. All right, so let's get into it. Once you realize or figure out what you want to file a claim for, the first step is to gather all the necessary documentation. All right, so you basically need your military service records, all of your medical records pertaining to that specific ailment, and depending on the type of claim, you might even need financial records. All right. The next step is you want to make copies. You always want to make sure you make copies. Ensure the copies are clear and legible. It's not unheard of that the VA loses a claim or misplaces it. All right. The next thing, and this is a suggestion to make sure everything is organized and you are keeping track of everything of your claim the way it goes, step by step, which is a very good idea. Again, claims have been known to be misplaced or lost, right? So create a folder. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be digital, or it can be either or it can be both, to keep all your documents in order for you to easily access them. If you're going to be filing your claim on the va.gov website, it would behoove you to have a digital copy, a digital folder on a computer, a desktop, or a laptop, all right? Just so that you can upload the documents, or they're readily available if you get an email from the VA or notification that a document is missing or they need it. You can pretty much upload it from wherever you are. All right. Second step, you got to complete the application form. If you file your claim digitally on va.gov, the form pops up automatically, and it's just fill out the information on one page, click next, fill out the information on the next page, click next, fill out the information on the next page, and that's how va.gov digitally fills out your VA claims form. Also, alternatively, you can also download the form from va.gov. Fill it out manually, in paper, pen and paper, and you can mail it in, right? The address to mail in the form is on the back of the form itself. So, all right, so you need to fill out the form. It doesn't need to be said, or it shouldn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it because the VA says it very often, and there is fraud in the VA for whatever reason. But you need to provide accurate information in all the sections. Double check for any errors or missing information. Correct anything, make sure that it's legible, make sure that it is truthful, and you're not misleading in any way, right? Before you seal the envelope or click send on the va.gov website, make sure you go through the completed application to ensure all the details are correct and nothing is overlooked. But when I was in my 20 years in the Marine Corps, I didn't like blanks. I just didn't like blanks. Something had to go in every form field, right? So just take a look at it, make sure that it's correct before you submit it. All right. So number 3, again, you can submit it electronically through va.gov, or you can submit it via mail. If you submit it via mail, again, the mailing address is on the form, on the back of the form, and I would suggest you send it registered mail, or at least provide a tracking number that will tell you when it's delivered, right? I think the United States Postal Service, the post office, provides a tracking number for priority mail, for 2-day priority mail. I would say it's worth it considering what's on the line here, right? So again, once you submit, the third step would be submit your claim electronically. Once you submit your claim, between step 3 and 4, right? Because step 4 is to follow up on your claim status. But typically before that, you're going to get an email or a phone call from the VA saying that you need to do what's called a compensation and pension exam, a CMP exam. And basically that's where you sit with a third-party medical provider that goes over your documentation, that evaluates you to see the severity of your disability. Because understand, the ratings process for the VA is all based on the severity of the disability. For instance, for lumbar or for degenerative disc disease in the back, right? One of the ways that they rate that is on range of motion. So your range of motion based on degrees is supposed to be measured. So that's just an example. So that could happen between after you submit your claim, and then on the next step, step number 4 is to follow up on your claim status. All right. Right now, the backlog is between 90 to 120 days on your initial VA claim. All right. So it takes some patience. And that's why making sure that you fill out the form correctly is imperative. Make sure the form is filled out correctly, and then the time, the 90 to 120 days, there's less stress because you know that you've submitted what you needed to. Now you're just waiting. Step number 4, you're just following up. You can log into va.gov website and check on the status of your claim. You can contact your local VA representative For most states provide a VA, a veteran liaison with the VA, the VA hospitals, and the VBA, the Veterans Benefit Association Administration, rather, not association. Sorry, and that's a good resource. And just keep up to date with it, right? Keep a log of when you've contacted the VA or your VA representative, and understand that it's going to take time. They can't push anything. It's going to take what it takes. They can only give you the updates, right? So keep track of any time frames mentioned when you speak to these people, because that'll give you an idea of where your claim is. All right. So what happens after your claim is submitted and you get a status back? Well, you're going to get a letter, a decision letter. The proper term is decision letter. Veterans have come to know them as denial letters. Why? 85% of first-time VA submissions, VA benefit claim submissions are denied. Just 85%. That, I believe, is the statistics. So veterans have called them denial letters, but they're a VA decision letter. The VA decision letter is important to the point where it tells you why you were denied. And it tells you, if you read it carefully, read the whole letter, it'll tell you what you need to submit as far as evidence to prove your disability at a certain rating, right? So the decision letter will have one of two options, one of two outcomes. You're approved, and it'll give you a rating. You're denied the disability claim, and it'll tell you why. Make sure you read the decision letter. Now, if it's approved and you agree with it, great, right? If it's approved and you don't agree with the rating, you can submit an appeal, and that's the next step, right? You can submit an appeal if you disagree with the rating percentage, and you can submit an appeal if you're denied outright, right? So the next step, step 5, is appeal the decision. Okay. So understanding the reason for denial. If your claim is denied, read the rating decision thoroughly to understand the reasons. I mentioned that before. For instance, again, let's use lower back, degenerative disc disease. A rating of 40% or 20% is rated when an individual has a flexion of between 30 and 60 degrees, right? So that's a 20% rating. In order to qualify for a greater rating of 40%, you have to have a flexion of between 15 and 30 degrees. You see the difference? So if you have documentation that says you do have the higher the more restrictive flexion, then you would file a supplemental claim with providing the additional evidence. Or if you feel that the evidence you submitted was sufficient, you would just simply file a higher level review, right? And that just is submitted without any additional evidence. And what happens at that point is the reviewer supervisor reviews the claim, higher level review. So they just review the initial claim, okay? So understand the reasons of why your claim was denied or you didn't get the rating you think you deserved. If you file a supplemental claim, as I mentioned, you got to collect any new or additional documentation that supports your case for the increased rating or for the rating in itself, an initial, right, if you were denied. Submit that. You can submit that now via the va.gov website. Previously, you could only submit a supplemental or a higher level review via paperwork, via form, and via mail. All right. And if you decide to do that, again, make it a first class mailing, priority mail, so you get the tracking and the delivery date that it was actually received. Okay. Another thing you can do, depending on the severity of your claim, if you've already done a supplemental claim and it's come back and it's still denied, if you've done a higher level review and the claim comes back denied, or you do not get the increase, all right, at that point, you need to take into consideration whether you file your own supplemental claims again with additional evidence, you file an additional higher level review with your reasons why, or the third step, you consult an expert. Now, I think most claims, 90%, we'll go with 90% of claims, veterans can file their own claims and get the benefits of the returns that they're looking at, that they believe they deserve, okay? So those other 10%, you're gonna need a lawyer. There's just no way around it. It's just the way that it is. You can go to the va.gov website and they'll provide a list of accredited lawyers, accredited agents that can help you on your behalf. Understand that the last I read the law is that an accredited agent cannot charge you for any filing services, right? They can't charge you for their services up front. They can only charge you a percentage of your back pay should you win the decision and get the claim and get the ratings that you deserve. So just take that into consideration. All right. But again, most denials, most appeals can be won by the veteran just by simply submitting additional documentation, reading the denial letter. That's the first thing, right? Read the denial letter, understand your reasons for denial, and then submitting the proper documentation, right? Or a higher level review if you believe you already submitted the documentation and the reviewer didn't look at it properly. Now, if you don't have the documentation, right, but you believe that your disability is severe enough for the increase or the higher rating, then you're going to have to get your medical provider involved to review your situation and to determine whether that's the case. All right. And that would be additional evidence. Okay. So that's step number 5, preparing for a potential appeal. Okay. Number 6 is understanding the rating process. This is a checklist just so that you get your mindset correct as you've already submitted your claim, right? So familiarize yourself with the process. Read about how the claims are rated on the Veterans Affairs website. The VA website provides all the information you need. It can be convoluted, it can be confusing, and it can be vague to understand, but it's all there, right? So you can use ChatGPT, you can reach out to VSOs, you can reach out to anybody if that's familiar with it, has experience with the VA to understand what the process is. The process is real simple in my opinion. You determine what you need to file for, what you're going to claim. You fill out the documentation, you submit it, you go to your CMP exam, you wait for the decision letter, you file an appeal if necessary. And if you can't win the appeal on your own and you believe that you should, then you hire a lawyer. That's the process, right? But in order to understand it so where you're familiar with it and you can be successful on your own, you need to familiarize yourself with the process. And that's the whole process, right? Know the criteria. Understand the different criteria and categories used in evaluating claims. So TBI or PTSD is evaluated differently, right, than degenerative disc disease. Your migraines that you may be suffering from PTSD or TBI or from tinnitus would be evaluated differently in comparison to those other 2 ailments. So understand the criteria, right? And that will help you direct your medical care provider on what you need and the records that you need. And speaking of records, maintain your records of any communication related to your claim and the rating decision. You want to make sure you keep all the documentation, and I would suggest digitally if you can do it. If not, then you gotta do paper. But keep all the records because it has been known that the VA has lost records or misplaced records, and you have to provide something, right? Especially when you're looking to increase ratings. All right. So that's step 6, understanding the rating decision process. And now step number 7, again, this is probably, even though step number 7, it probably goes along in preparation, right? So finding initial resources for veterans. Online resources are a big thing. Visit official websites, forums, online groups for veterans that offer valuable information and support. I know there's several dozen Facebook groups that do this. There's groups on LinkedIn for veterans that were injured in combat, that have wounds or anything like that were received during combat service. Your best bet is going to be Wounded Warriors. They handle claims and they help veterans that were wounded during any kind of deployment, specifically during times of war or anything like that, right? Combat related. They're your best bet. I have 2 veterans in my office at work that work with Wounded Warriors, and Wounded Warriors takes care of everything at no cost to the veteran. And they make sure they have an inside look into the VA system so they can get you updated resources, information on your claim, anything you need. So I would suggest that. For the rest of us, I'm not in that group, so I had to look it up my own, right? Another thing you can do is contact local agencies. Every county, most counties in the United States have a veteran services officer that's provided by the county. So you can always look into that. You can always call the local VA hospital. They have a VSO that's available to help with anything that you may need when it comes to filing your claim. So do that. Attend workshops or seminars. Look for workshops or seminars that are offered in your local area or even online that give you information on navigating the claims process. We offer that here at Veteran Claims Made Easy, and you can just check our website for that. If you have any comments or concerns about it, or you have anything that you might want us to look at or add, use the contact page on the website and let us know what you think, and let us know of any suggestions or anything like that we can improve the video to help our fellow veterans. Right? I appreciate your time. Have a blessed day.